Hey guys, Mickey Lee, the Old Nacet, the stubborn Boar, Zenith B23, and the razor that is currently one of the favorites with the Nacet at its current age, a Fatip open comb, and this one has the Piccolo handle. So that's what we're doing today. I am going to use the Nacet for all of November. And then near the end of that month, I'll be hitting 365 uses, assuming the blade lets me go that far. I think that'll be pretty interesting. The dots on that wrapper I showed you are 300. And then this is the index card where I'm keeping the ones over 300. So you can see 3 groups of 10 plus a single group of 3. The Piccolo handle is this solid one. It's a little on the thin side compared to the Grande handle, but this is solid and the Grande handle is hollow. And so this one actually has a little bit more heft to it, even though it feels a little small. But the heft really makes it feel like a stronger, better razor, and plus the thinness makes it very nimble for flipping around and rotating and moving and things like that. I've had this Boar knot here in water for about 15 minutes, kind of as a pre-soak, and it definitely needs it. It is being a stubborn brush. The tips are comfortable, but the backbone is very stiff. Now, I'm planning to use Dunshire as my balm, and I haven't really reported this in, but it's pretty much an unscented balm. I mean, I can smell it just a little bit, but I don't, once I put it on, I don't really smell it very much. And so it's Acquadigio is the scent it was inspired from, and maybe that's just such a mellow scent. I'm not exactly sure. And so I kind of am starting to consider that one almost like an unscented balm, which is fine because it's still effective, and I can smell it a little bit, but that's a weak one. I probably won't buy that one again. Oh, hey, speaking of which, you guys who've watched me for a while know that I really like Stirling Tuscany, especially the aftershave balm. Well, on Stirling's website, they ran out of that balm. They put it on clearance because they said that they were going to discontinue that scent. I guess I'm one of the few who actually like it and order it. And so I bought up some of the other clearance items that were there, and I wasn't able to get one of the balms. I've still got a balm from Tuscany, but I wanted a backup to use once that one goes out. Wasn't able to get one. Well, I was browsing around on maggardrazors.com today because they had sent me an email, and there is a soap they're coming out with, a collaboration with Maggard Razors and Declaration Grooming. And so it'll be the milk steak base with some type of Maggard Razors scent, or something along those lines. And it's got a picture of a leaf and kind of a fall motif on the cover, on the label art and stuff. So that might give us a hint that it's a kind of a seasonal. I'm a big fan of dark fall and a lot of those seasonals that Declaration Grooming has put out. And so I decided to order a sample of it because even though the soap isn't going to come out until the 28th, the samples are available now. And so I thought, well, you know what? I want to order more than just one sample. So let me hunt around on some of the other samples. And I picked a couple of other ones that I wanted to try out. And then I also just, as I was browsing the soap section, starting at the cheapest, I thought, if there's a cheap soap out there that I haven't tried, maybe I'll add it to my cart. And I was scrolling down, all of a sudden I hit the Stirling soap section because I was scrolling from cheapest to more. And then, the Stirling is just so inexpensive at like $12.50, $13 or something like that per tub. I came across that section and I thought, okay, I could get a tub of Stirling. Well, what if I just view the Stirling soaps, and I'll sort them by the release date and see if Stirling has come out with something new that I didn't know about, and Maggard's has it, you know. So I thought, okay, great. Well, then I saw Tuscany in that list, you know, just in the list somewhere, you know. And I thought, oh, wait, they've got Tuscany soap. I think it might be sold out over at Stirling's website, but they must have a supply because obviously Stirling makes a bunch and sends them to Maggard. I thought, wait a minute, maybe Stirling has the aftershave balm. And sure enough, they did. I was able to order some. Pretty cool, huh? So if you have some stuff that's a favorite of yours and the manufacturing page runs out of it, check those other vendors like Maggard Razors and those top of the chain, those sort of things, to see if maybe they still have a little bit of stock on something you might enjoy. Now, this is called Through the Woods from Mickey Lee. Mickey Lee, they did close their doors within the past year or two, and this is a Christmas themed scent, and I did not know that. I did research just a few minutes ago to see what it was. Matter of fact, that's why it's green. They tinted it green because it's Christmas scent, Christmas tree color. I'm really interested to see what the scent turns out to be in the lather. The notes are like pine and fir and spruce or something, 3 woody trees that I'm usually not a big fan of. I like more the oak and the cherry and things like that. Plus eucalyptus and then gingerbread. There's no way I would have purchased that based on that scent description. Those don't really match. However, I purchased a box of goodies and this was in the box, and I'm glad to try it out. And who knows, I may learn something. Maybe the combination of the addition of gingerbread in with those tree-like scents could give it something very interesting. Eucalyptus is also something I normally avoid. So I have the puck here, and as you can see, there's some room around it. That's because it has shrunk over non-use. It has shrunk over time as it has lost moisture. So what can I do? Well, I can just load from it normally with a brush. That can sometimes be unpredictable if it's been in a soap that hasn't been used for a while. And so sometimes it's better to overshoot and say, like, let's load for 1 minute and 30 seconds or something like that. That way you make sure you pick up enough soap. Well, a foolproof way of doing it, just scoop it. I've got a 1/4 teaspoon measure here. As you can see, it's rounded. It is more than a 1/4 teaspoon because I'm just, you know, hey, let us just make sure we have enough. And so I'm going to put this, and it is firm. It is some firm soap. When it's firm like this, you got to make sure that when you press it into a bowl, you press it all the way in. Don't let a chunk get loose to where the brush could knock it loose. Because if a hard chunk kind of just goes around the bowl with the brush, then the brush doesn't really act upon it. It just follows the brush around, and I have seen many cases where I have seen chunks at the end of a shave that never got absorbed into the lather because they broke loose and were just roaming a little too free. So I'm making sure we don't have anything just kind of sticking up of any size at all. Just press it all down into a nice layer. There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm detecting some of those notes. Scent can also be reduced over time, and so maybe some of the offensive things that I don't really enjoy too much would have reduced a little bit. Maybe it'll be something cool. We'll try it out. So here's the Nacet. And here's the side that I marked with the 3 dots. It started out having an X somewhere. I think it was over here or above. It was above. Nah, I can't remember. It's been so long. But I put the 3 dots there to have a continuance of kind of proof that it's the same blade. Also, use 225 or something like that. You can see a little glinting from the curve because I dropped the blade. Yeah, there you go. You can see the dullness right there. because it's bent right there. I dropped the blade, and it was still in the razor head, and so there was enough momentum, I guess, to cause damage. I can feel it a little bit when I shave, but it's fine generally. Now, also, I've always put the dots toward the handle with this blade. When I started it years ago in 2018, and that funny thing to say about a blade, I started it with the dots to where you can see them, because this is the top cap here. And I figured, why not try something funky like never flipping the blade? Because what if I shave with it as much as I can go, and then when it's just worn out, I flip the blade? Wouldn't that tell us something? If all of a sudden the blade just came to life again and I was able to get another bunch of uses out of it? I don't know. If I flip it over and nothing's different, it's still just as ready to be retired, then I think that will be some good evidence to say that flipping blades just doesn't matter at all. That it's one edge, who cares? You don't need to track which side you're using, that sort of thing. However, if I get, one thing that I think this is telling me right now, 333 shaves with the blade only on one side, that's telling me that if you're using it less than 30 times and you're tracking and you're being diligent about rotating and flipping, it doesn't make a hill of beans difference if you do that or not. If I can shave 333 times on one side, you're not going to extend your life by flipping it way down below, is my guess. I'm not palm stropping it or stropping it on a pair of jeans or anything like that. If you're curious about what I believe are some of my techniques that I use to go long ways with this guy, since I haven't used it in a while, you can go to sugardaddyShaves.com and look for a Marathon Secrets page there, and it will tell you some of the hypotheses that I have. I think that a light touch is crucial. I think that a wet, slick lather that's not thick and not dry is crucial. I think that being able to switch to more aggressive razors or different geometry razors has let me keep going on this guy. So those are some of the things. I also put in some of the things I'm guessing about. I also put in some things that I am doing and I just don't know whether they make a difference or not, but I'm going to report that's what I'm doing just in case we learn something later on. Anyway, at this point, I'm just curious, how many shaves is this blade going to give me? When I use a Nacet up, after this guy's long dead and gone, when I use my next Nacet, I'm not going to take it to 300 shaves. It'll be less. I'll pick another blade to push as far as I can go just to see what happens. I don't think that after 10 years or so, I don't think that all my other blades are only going to go to 100 and the Nacet's the only one to 300, but it could be what happens. All right, let's go. Let me get my face wet. I put on some Midnight Stag earlier today, and I can still smell it. It smells great. Okay. 21 uses or something like that is how many uses this Boar brush has had. Let's go at it. It is, like I said, a brush that has a lot of backbone in the main shaft part of the bristles. But fortunately, the tips are soft enough to be comfortable. If I have a razor that is aggressive or kind of tearing my skin up a little bit, this does maybe have the potential to cause some razor burn, some irritation, brush burn. So I don't choose it with aggressive razors, but I don't have very many of those. Now the Mickey Lee, you know, they did have to shut their doors for reasons. And that was a pretty sad day. They had been a part of our community for quite a while. I'm just going to go ahead and put in the whole 2 teaspoons. And now let me tilt you down to get a better view of the lather. Last time my phone fell out of the holder. Hopefully we won't have a repeat of that. But Mickey Lee wasn't known for having a top tier base. But they did have a nice collection of interesting scents. Some of them were scents that were available from other makers, you know, because they were inspired similarly. You know, there was a, let me see. Well, nothing comes to mind right away. Like they had a vetiver scent. I think they had like an Aqua de Parma clone. They had Cape Verde, which is a really nice scent that I enjoyed from them. And so this lather isn't going to compete with the milk steaks and the Icaruses and the Excelsiors and that sort of thing. However, this was not priced like those other ones either. I believe that Stirling is a little better in terms of what I like in a soap than Mickey Lee. But there are definitely some scents with Mickey Lee that I really enjoy. I like Unforgiven. I like that one a lot. Western kind of feel and vibe to it. So we've got 2.5 teaspoons of water in here. The scent is not strong. I'm not getting a sweet gingerbread note. I think I'm getting some of those woody notes that I mentioned, like pine or fir. But it is being mitigated a little bit by something. That eucalyptus might be helping them not quite to be so pungent. Wouldn't that be interesting if it was kind of a combination of a bunch of stuff I don't like and they all kind of cancel each other out and then it becomes a soap that I don't mind. Wouldn't that be? And can you see the green tint of the lather? That's interesting. It's not a strong scent. I'll be curious to see if I'm able to detect it during the shave. Now with the backbone of this brush being so strong, I often like to run my lathers a little bit drier than usual to kind of help with the brush, because if the lather gets too wet, this brush doesn't really show it off in a good light. So even though that looks a lot more peaky and a lot more texture to the appearance than I usually go for, I'm just going to go ahead and try this as it is right now today. Get my face wet. So Through the Woods, obviously a nod to the Christmas song, over the river and through the woods, to grandmother's house we go, with the gingerbread, the woods. I don't quite know why eucalyptus would have been added, but it feels good. This mix here. Now you can see it's kind of starting to dry out a little bit as I'm probably doing a little bit of mixing here. There might have been some uncombined soap. You see it's getting thicker as I was working it. Plus some of the water that was in it could have been absorbed by my skin, that sort of thing. So I'm going to add a little bit of water to the brush. I did shave earlier today, but I'm sure. Look at that! It flung off the brush, happened to land exactly on my syringe. That's pretty funny. That's what happens sometimes when you have to do this kind of face lathering type maneuver. You start to get some good smooth soap on and you end up kind of knocking it off because it's loose. It's a nice slick formula here. I may add more water to the bowl after this. Yeah, I'm feeling that backbone, but the tips are kind of, oh wow, that's really dry. I'm going to take some of the excess that's around the knot, put that back kind of in the bowl. So, as you saw, instead of working on loading the right time and wondering if I was doing it right, I just went with the scooping method. So I know, as you can see, that I have enough product. I've added almost a whole teaspoon to the first pass here. So the good news is we've probably worked my face a nice long time. So I think we've got some good kind of joining of the lather to the skin for that lather to be protective. Not only to offer slickness, but to kind of hold on to the skin as well so that it keeps that slickness even when the razor has gone over it. All right, yeah, we'll definitely add some more water to the bowl. Might as well do it now. So 4 total teaspoons used. Let's refill it again, and I'll put in another half because I added quite a bit of water to that first pass. And there we go. All right, Nacet 334, here we go. Gone are those nice non-tuggy shaves that I've been enjoying the last month or two. But I'll keep my technique light so that when I return back to normal blades, I won't, be pressing too hard to try to compensate for the old blade. A little bit of tugging, but nothing painful. My goal with the Nacet has always been to, as long as I'm getting reasonable quality shaves, reasonable closeness, with a reasonable amount of comfort. I'll tolerate some tugging. And there we go. First pass is down. When I have a young blade, I would estimate 90% of the stubble gets cut that first pass. With an older blade like this, I think it's more like 50%. But it's okay because the second pass just has more to do and it usually works out pretty well. So with that said, I do feel a lot more of the stubble after that first pass, like I just did during the rinse. I do feel a lot more of that with the Old Nacet. But by the end of the shave, it'll be gone. So if 50% gets taken off the first pass, 40, 30% the next pass, and the last bit the next pass, then you're still at a good place by the end of the shave. Yeah, this lather looks even better. Oh, look at that elasticity. Nice. Let's see how that feels on my face. We know it looks good in the bowl. We've got so much of it, I can just kind of reach back in. Get a little bit, since this brush doesn't really have a lot of splay. Scent is very low on this one, but it's pleasant. It's like all the different parts are adding together to be something different than I might normally guess. I would have really liked to have smelled this fresh. So now we'll do cross grain. A lot more comfortable than the first pass. Don't know when the Nacet will give up. Hey, on Reddit, there's another guy, Myrna, maybe it's just Myrna. I'm afraid because his username is a little bit of a kind of a random collection of letters, it's difficult to remember it. I know that Myrna is a part of it, but I don't know if there's like an R before it or something like that. Yes, this is a nice slick base. Just because it's not competitive with Excelsior and stuff doesn't mean it's not enjoyable to use or it's going to provide you great shaves. And let's rinse. Well, normally Christmas themed soaps don't stick around in my den very long because people just seem to want to bring in mint into those or too much pine or fir. I just don't like those very much. But this one, those parts of the scent are kind of muted. I think the eucalyptus may be helping with that. I'm not really sure. Just a pleasant scent. At this age, I am often doing a fourth pass. If it becomes so inefficient that I have to do 5 passes, I may consider that to be not really, not really falling under my reasonable category. In one sense, I might not mind doing it if I have to do it with 5 passes, because that's if I'm still getting a good quality shave, then all I'm doing is kind of proving a point of how many shaves can you get from a blade. A little tenderness here in my neck area. There's a spot that I've kind of created a weeper in the last couple of shaves, and I think I aggravated that just a little bit with this one. So we will very lightly kind of go over that area just like that. Really slick, man. Good soap. And we'll do a rinse. And I believe this is the 3rd pass. And because this brush has some trouble splaying, what I'm doing is pressing it in, pushing it into the lather and letting it splay just maybe 30%. so that it shoves the lather between the bristles. And hopefully this brush will start to open up and be a little kinder. Maybe within the next 10 shaves. I wouldn't be surprised. Kind of expected it around now anyway, and I don't think it's going to happen around now. So maybe around the 30 mark. Cross grain again. This razor, I don't consider it very aggressive. It holds the razor really well, firmly, and so you get a good, consistent feel from it. Imagine there's some people out there that do consider it aggressive. Well, I'm doing my tender area. I want to make sure I'm not using the side of the blade that has that bend in it, just to kind of protect that area a little bit, give it the best case scenario. Just be gentle in it. And I'll get a good rinse here and review the closeness, see if we need to do a fourth pass. A little bit of length left in some of the tips, but that's kind of standard with this age. It's just not going to cut as close. If you can go against the grain, then I wonder if that means that if you're exactly like me in every way, except you can go against the grain, I don't know if that means that you would be able to take this blade even further or get closer shaves out of each shave than I do, or if it means that you would have given up earlier on this blade. I'm not exactly sure, but if even with a fresh blade, if I go against the grain in my neck area here, it gives me cuts and a good bit of irritation. All right, so that is just an interesting soap. Yeah, starting to smell the pine there. And I think I can smell the tweak of the eucalyptus with it. But it's all, yeah, but it's not dominant. There's other stuff that's kind of at play, messing with the distinctive pine scent. I'm really happy about that. Tons of lather left. I didn't have to pull out as much soap, did I? The 1/4 teaspoon measure, I could just use a 1/4 teaspoon, maybe even a little bit less, because I have lots of very good lather left over. Look at that. Yes. That's some good looking lather. That's terrific. My skin is a little tender. Couple of like I told you, I had woken up something there, but you know what? I also have short shaved here. I shaved earlier today, so we're probably looking at maybe 16 hours between shaves instead of my usual 24. And in that case, I usually advise people to back off. Sometimes maybe even do one less pass, you know, that sort of thing, because you can irritate your skin that way. But feeling good. Good time for a balm. So let's Dunshire this up. I did not figure out in my brain by reading this soap title that it would be a Christmas soap. I kind of got caught off guard when I looked online to be able to chat with you about, what its scent was. And there we go. Oh yeah, and I was telling you about Myrna. R. Myrna something. He just hit 300 recently, and he's using a Persona Platinum Chrome, I think. I know it's a Persona, and I think that's great because that wasn't on my 100 list. On sugardaddyShaves.com, I do have a list of the blades that my research and other people have communicated to me, trusted people. Hey, I've taken this blade to 100 shaves. And so I put it in my list. Well, thanks to him, I was able to add that Persona into the Century list as well. And if you go to that website and you look at that list, it's pretty much just a list of all the popular blades. And so it's not really something special about the blade. It's something special about you, the shaver, your technique, your lather creation. At least these are the things that I believe is the case. All right, well, I've got a comfy shave with Stirling. The balm will take several minutes to absorb. That the whiteness that you see will definitely go away. That's a nice scent. Just doesn't really linger too much, or maybe I get used to it, that could be happening as well. All right. So after a good towel stropping, I like to bend out the bristles, not really to try to increase the splay. I don't think that does it, but to increase the airflow to the center of the knot to help everything to dry out. It is slowly increasing in splay, so we'll keep using it. I do like this handle a lot. It's very ergonomic. Let me move out of the way so you can see the real shape. I think the waist might be just a little too small. A good bit of pressure gets put on the fingertips, the tips there. And so it could be maybe a little bit better, but in general, I like it a lot. So Zenith, looking forward to when this brush will get friendlier. All right, we used up 4.5 teaspoons of water. Maybe I refilled it more times than that, and maybe we're looking at 6.5. I think that might actually be it. I think it's 6.5. I'm going to put that in my database, and if you guys pay attention, you see how many times I refilled it. I tried to tell you as we were going. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. Some of you guys are really good about that, and I sure do appreciate it. So, through the woods, Christmas scent in intention, and I can definitely pull some of those notes out. So it's almost like a Christmas scent for those like me who don't like some of the characteristic things that get stuck in a Christmas scent. And that's pretty cool. I would never have guessed. Would never have guessed it. Awesome. Well, I think maybe I don't need to wear this color shirt when I'm shaving in this room, right? I just about blend in with the background. All right. Hey, I could play green screen, shaving green screen. What would that entail? A floating head shaving with a mountain background, Swiss Alps or something like that. Pick a theme, a picture depending on the soap, maybe, I don't know, or a logo. The artwork of the soap could be pictured behind me really huge or something. Anyway, I'm delirious because it's time to go to bed. All right, you guys, I sure hope that there's been something in this video to help you out. We got some good elastic lather. It looked great, and it was a feeling great lather as well. Well hydrated, very slick, protected me well. Right now, I'm not feeling any very much tenderness at all. If I think about it and move my neck a certain way, I do feel a little bit right here, but that's the kind of thing that'll be gone in just a few minutes fully. So the Nacet does feel good to keep going. Now, I do have a couple of those Wolfman WR2 razors with me in the 85 gap, which still gives me some blade feel. I could try it in one of those as well, because I know it works for the razor we used tonight. So I could play around and try it with the Wolfman too. You just never know sometimes. Sometimes it's about moving up in aggression. I moved all the way up from the carved plates, stepping up to blade, to settings that I can't use normally with younger blades. The E is way too rough for me to use with a blade, less than 10 uses old. But it was just fine. And even the F was okay for me when I was using the Nacet at older points, like 200 and 250 or something like that. And so I also cranked my adjustables up higher to be able to deal with the older blade. But sometimes it's just a difference in geometry because, see, this Fatip is really comfortable. To me, it resembles the Carve C in terms of the feel, in terms of the blade feel, and which I find very comfortable. But the C with the Carve is too mild to use with this blade generally. But because this head style is a different geometry and stuff than the Carve, I'm able to use it. That's just the way it goes. So changing up razors is a part of me being able to make the blade go longer, it seems. All right. Well, it turns out I believe the Dunshire kind of matched somehow with the Through the Woods. Maybe it's the eucalyptus that's bonding a little bit with the Dunshire, some kind of common note, a piece of that note, maybe the woodiness. I'm not real sure, but it just seems to flow pretty well from one to the other. So I'll keep this Christmas scent around because I don't really have any Christmas scents that I like. I don't think. And it's always good to have Mickey Lee around. And I really like their design, their theme here with the writing, and I think it's kind of modern, but also kind of has a consistent kind of classic look, and still allows a little bit of artwork to come through as well. I like it. I think it's crisp and clean. I like the vintage stuff too, like the Mitchell's wool fat art on the top of their ceramic dishes. I think that's pretty neat. Got a nice real vintage vibe to it. Well, guys, I sure hope that you got something out of this one. Time to go to bed. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and good night. Take care.